Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason. I'm bringing you today's video. Just had a few things I wanted to go over real fast. First, our usual shout out of appreciation to all of our patrons out there. We appreciate all those tips and support, and hope you guys are enjoying the videos that we put out for you guys exclusively every single week, including the How to Deal Craps instructional set that is ongoing. And if you're curious about it, go ahead and check the description of the video down below. And also, I wanted to go over, we've had a couple of questions about the this little neon light thing that we've been putting on some of our other videos. So if anybody's interested in one of these, just shoot us an email at sincitylivinglv@gmail.com. And so I did another test of our live stream, another attempt to do the live stream. So I now know that I have the right equipment, the right camera, the right programming, able to get all of that done. Unfortunately, what I did discover is that my computer was not strong enough, was not powerful enough to be able to encode and upload it as an actual live stream. So I'm going to continue tweaking with that, although it may turn out that I'm just going to have to wait until I can afford to buy a newer, more powerful computer for that. So that will be on the list. So it does look like live streaming may not be as upcoming as I was hoping. It's going to take us a little bit of time to generate that up. And otherwise, please make sure you email us with any questions, strategies, anything you would like us to video. We love shooting these videos for you guys. If not, I'm going to go straight into today's video. For today's video, I want to talk about why it is so important to understand the game, to know how to play the game, or at least know how the game is designed, built upon, basically the math involved in the game. I mean, a perfect example would be the most simple game, which would be blackjack. Right? The people that play blackjack and play it fairly often, they generally understand the math involved. They understand why they will stay on a 14 when the dealer is showing a 6. They'll understand why they're going to double down on a 10 when the dealer is showing a 5 or a 6, why why you want to split certain numbers such as 8s, always split 8s, and so on and so forth. And it's because they understand the basic math, the basic probability, and how the game works. They understand when the dealers have to take hits, what the probabilities are, so on and so forth. Of course, they understand that the odds are against them, but they know that by playing certain ways, they can increase their chances of maybe catching a lucky card or catching a win. The same thing applies to craps, only craps is just too complex. It really is. The math on it is very simple. I mean, this is 5th grade math, really. I mean, it's not difficult, but it's complex. There are so many different types of bets, so many different types of plays, so many things that pay different ways, and it can get very confusing to people, especially as they are learning the game and learning new things. So I'm going to use 3 examples that I actually saw. So these are going to be real players, real examples, real things that I saw happen, and why understanding the game is so important. So the first thing is a player that I saw that was just learning how to play the game. They understood the pass line, and they understood what they were trying to do. They were trying to roll the point. They didn't understand odds. They didn't understand place bets. They understood nothing else but the pass line. Well, there was a player next to him that was betting $100 on the don't pass, even when they shot. They were betting $100 don't pass. Table had gone very cold, so they switched over. This player actually does play the pass line, place bets, stuff like that, but had switched over to playing the don't pass before this other player showed up. So after a couple of rolls, the new person asked about that bet. So then they started doing a $15 don't pass. But here's the kicker. They also learned one of the 2 bets that players tend to learn first after the pass line, or even sometimes before the pass line. One of those bets, of course, is the field. The other bet is the hard ways. So with this player, they both started doing, this player would bet their don't pass, and they would throw in $20 and say, I want all the hard ways for $5 each. Okay, cool. This player then said, well, I want all the hard ways for $5 each. Oh, okay, cool. And then they would bring them up if they lost, right? But what was happening a lot of times was a 7 out, so they were winning. So this player is like, hey, all right, good job. Hey, 7, that's what we're going for. We win. So we're paying him $15. And then we are taking $20 that lost. This player at least is getting paid $100 while losing $20. But this player is playing $15, is winning $15 but losing 20. And you could see as their stack was slowly getting smaller in the rail by $5 to $15 per roll, because they would again bring up their hardways as they came down. Every so often a hardway would hit. They celebrated. They got paid $35, $40. It's like, dude, you lost $80 the last 9 rolls, and finally hit a hardway, but you're still in the hole. Because they had competing bets. At least with the don't pass over here, the players got $100 and all the hardways for $20 for 5 each. So they're still winning should the condition occur that they are betting for. This player, however, was betting more on a bet that loses on a 7 than they were on the bet that wins on a 7. So it just didn't make sense. And why were they doing that? Because they didn't understand the game. You could see, and they were pretty drunk too, but you could see in their eyes as they looked at their stack just the confusion, befuddlement. They were just bamboozled by what was going on. I'm having fun right now, but they were just confused. They couldn't understand why they were losing when they were winning, when they were getting paid, but yet they're losing. They couldn't understand it, and it's because they really didn't understand the game. A similar situation also occurred about 2 hours later on a different table. We had a player that this guy was sloppy drunk. I mean, the guy was just absolutely blitzed. Same thing, had just barely learned pass line bet. Now, they had learned the second bet that people tend to learn, or sometimes even the first bet, which was the field. Right? But so they figured out the pass line bet. Same thing. There's a don't pass player playing. So they ask about that bet, and then the next time around, they go, okay, well, I'm going to bet the don't pass. And I looked at him and went, do you want to bet the pass line and the don't pass? Because then it's impossible for you to win. There's no way to win. There's one way to lose and no way to win. You got 35 ways to break even and 1 way to lose. So they ended up picking a side, which is what I encouraged them to do. And if they wanted to play the don't pass, I told them just don't play the pass line. If you want to play the pass line, I wouldn't recommend playing the don't pass. Because they weren't betting other stuff. Some people will do that, especially if they're shooting, because they just want to be able to shoot without losing anything in theory, and place bets, or have their complicated head strategies or whatever. Do-we-don'ts almost always lose. But this guy wasn't trying to do a do-we-don't because of some understanding of some strategy. He was doing it just because he didn't know. He had just learned another bet, so he thought he'd just bet both bets that he knew. So we educated him a little bit on that. Then what happened was, say a 6 would roll as a come out. He'd set the point at 6. Then he'd say, well, I want to bet the 6. We're like, you sure? Because you're betting against the 6. I want to bet the 6. Okay. So now, at this point, best case scenario, he wins $1. Worst case scenario, he breaks even. Okay, and sure. And obviously that didn't really fit with his patience level, so he ended up swapping over to field bets and started playing $100 field bets and lost everything. But again, that stemmed from just not understanding and not knowing the game. A game like blackjack or Pai Gow or Caribbean Stud, stuff like that, you can go up to the table and tell the dealer, hey, I don't know how to play this game. Can you help me out? And they may ask you, especially with the Pai Gow and Caribbean Stud, well, do you know poker? Do you know the poker hands? Yeah. Okay, then cool. This won't be difficult. Yeah, if you don't know the poker hands, then you got no business going to play one of the poker games. With blackjack, same thing. It's fairly basic. We can explain it as we're going. Craps, not so much. It's way too complex, especially because the players that know how to play have all these bets out, and new players are like, oh, what's that bet? What's that bet? What's that bet? And it would take us an hour to really explain the bet, the odds, why people play it, what the percentages are, and how to play it. And that would be if we didn't have a live game going. So the last example I want to show you is not so much an example of not understanding the game, because some of the people didn't really understand the game very well. Others, they understood the game, they were playing for a different reason. So we had an exceptional roll tonight. It was the longest roll that I've seen in a month, maybe more. We had an hour-long roll occur on one of our games, and the table was almost split in half. This side of the table, one side of the table, everybody was playing a certain way. The other side of the table, everybody was playing a certain way. So first let me show you how the far side of the table, how second base looked. Second base, their bets maybe, I want to say, maybe 30 minutes into the roll. 30 minutes into the roll, their bets looked something, I think the point, last time I looked at it, the point was a 4. Their bets looked something like this. This player wasn't quite there. But no, on this one it was. There were a number of other players, but this gives you an idea. Their bets look something like this. This is maybe 30 minutes into the roll, 30, 35 minutes into the roll. We're talking $600, $900 bets, $300 bets, 3, 3, 2, 5. You know, these players were winning anywhere between $500 to $600, all the way upwards of over $1,000 every single time the dice rolled, and it wasn't a 7. Because they had a few other bets going along. You know, maybe on the horn numbers they weren't winning quite so much, but basically they were on almost every single roll. They were winning $500 to over $1,000 every single time. And even the other players, the other 3 or 4 players on this side, were winning $300 to $400 every single roll of the dice, every single time. Right? All of these players are basically going for it, but not to the same level that I would be. Even if I started out with a mid-press method, by the time I hit 30, 35 minutes into the roll, at least one of these numbers is going to be at table max. Because with the mid-press, I only mid-press up to a certain point. Once I have managed to bank a few $100, I am power pressing. So at least a couple of these I would have been at table max. This is the kind of roll that I would have won $3,000, $4,000 or $40,000 on, whereas the big winner on this table won about $5,500, which is still pretty awesome. But now let me show you the other side of the table with the players that didn't understand the game that much or had a different way of playing. One group of people that were playing just to have fun. They were partying up. They had a very, very big special event, special occasion for the night that was really awesome. So they were really happy. They were riding high, and they were just having fun. They were playing to have fun. They weren't playing to win tons of money. They were playing to have fun. Other players simply just didn't understand how the game worked. They maybe 15, 20 minutes into it started learning what place bets were after seeing all these people on the other side of the table making all this crazy amount of money. Let me show you what the table looked like after an hour when the 7 out occurred. Let me show you what this side of the table looked like. I think there was one other player right here that was at this level. Now, some of these players did start out with some place bets, but a lot of them did not. They came in with their place bets after the roll was already going pretty strong. Sorry, it's really cold out here in my garage, so my hands are about frozen solid. So this is what this side of the table looked like at the end of an hour roll. So we're an hour into this roll, so we're probably anywhere between 50 to 70 rolls of the dice. And the largest bet on the table, on this side of the table, was a $30 6 and 8. Or $25. I guess the one that paid you the most would be the $25 10. That was the biggest bet on this side of the table. So on this side of the table, the big winners won a few $100. That was it. A few $100. There were actually a couple players that broke even, and some players actually lost not in the roll, but actually lost for their entire time playing. If you play and you catch an hour-long roll and you were still losing for your trip to the table, for this particular trip to the table, you definitely need to reevaluate how you were playing craps. Because at that point, there was just flat out no way you were ever going to win money. But most of the players did win. They just won a few $100 because they did not understand pressing. They did not understand trying to win more money. They didn't understand taking some of their winnings and putting it back into what they have won. They were just happy to be collecting $14 or $21 every single time. So they're collecting $20 the first time, they're collecting $20 the second time, they're collecting $20 the third time, they're collecting $20 the fourth time. Meanwhile, another player is collecting $10 the first time and $25 the second time and $40 the third time and $100 the fourth time, because they're pressing, they're trying to actually win more money. Well, these players were not. So it was pretty sad when we were watching people color up, and I mean they were still happy, most of them, but it was just insane. And that's the big difference too, is that the other side of the table that all had players that were pressing, mid-pressing, no, there were no power pressers, but mid-pressers, people that were actually trying and going for it. As soon as the hour-long roll ended, they all colored up and left because they all won big, many multiples of their buy-in. I'd say the lowest winner on that side of the table won at least 5 times their initial buy-in. Not 5 times what they put out onto the table, 5 times their initial buy-in. So if we had a player that bought in for, say, $200, they were coloring up at least 1,000. Some players won 10 times or more of their initial buy-in. Whereas over here, not a single one of these players colored up. Not one. Why? Because they hadn't won enough. They hadn't won enough to look down at the rail and go, man, I've won a bunch of money. I'm going to go ahead and color up and go. They looked down at the rail and went, oh, I'm up. That's it. I'm up. I mean, if you buy in for $200 and you look down at your rail and you've got $280, you got $330, you're going to go, hey, I'm up. If you buy in for $200, you look down at your rail and you've got $1,000 or $1,500, you're going to go, oh, wow, I'm a big winner. I'm coloring up. And that is the difference. So these players all actually end up giving back some of the money. They did still leave either even or up, most of them, but they gave back some of the money, and the reason why is because they kept playing, because their bankrolls, what they had won was just nothing overwhelming to them. If you catch an hour-long roll and you haven't won an amount of money that makes you go, wow, this is pretty awesome, again, you might want to reevaluate your strategies a little bit. So I hope you guys find this illuminating, enlightening, educational. We thank you very, very much for watching. We will catch you guys next time. Bye now. So, as I promised, I wanted to go over very briefly our upcoming attempts at a third test live stream. So what's happened so far? The first test live stream just flat didn't work. The problem that I had was was an equipment problem. I had an equipment problem in that the equipment that I was using to translate the camera into streamable video to the computer required a better USB port than the computer I was using at the time. So that one just flat failed because it would not translate into the computer. The computer would not pick it up, would not read it, so I wasn't able to live stream it. So then, as I was looking through, because I'm a little bit of a tech head, as I was looking through all of my other stuff, because I do have 4 laptops here and 3 computers, I did find one that actually did have the newer style USB port. Unfortunately, it was actually my oldest laptop, but I figured, what the heck, let me give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? And this time around, when I fired everything up, the video was actually translating onto the computer, so things were looking better. But then when I attempted to live stream, the computer was not powerful enough to be able to translate it and then upload it sufficiently. So it basically just uploaded a blank screen for the live stream. So what I am going to have to do is, and I'm already looking into all of my options, I'm going to upgrade my computer so I can add, what, a 7th, 8th computer to my household. And I'm going to go much, much higher, and I'm going to get a computer that is far more than I need for this, far more powerful than I need for this. That way, any future upgrades that I may do, the computer will be able to handle it. So unfortunately, this computer is going to cost me about 25% more, about 25% of what I've already laid out in all the equipment for this channel. So it wasn't something I could just instantly buy. I'm probably looking at Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So hopefully I have it within the next couple of weeks, and then I'll do another test live stream and see if I can go from there. So I will definitely do at least one weekly live stream on our Patreon because they're the ones that are really helping us get this computer and the other equipment that I'm going to get, because I figure if I'm buying the computer, I might as well buy the most high-end capture cards and things along those lines, get everything as good as possible, and then hopefully eventually get a better microphone for you guys. So yeah, that's where we stand on the live stream. As soon as I have the computer and I do the test, which will be in a few weeks, like I said, I've got to order it in a week or two, then I have to wait for it to ship. Plus we have probably the biggest event of the year coming up, the NFR National Finals Rodeo. So I'm basically working 2 weeks straight, as is my wife. So not going to have a whole lot of time. But once we get all that under control, then we'll figure out. There's been some schedule changes to myself, some schedule changes to my wife, and some upcoming schedule changes to my wife as well. So hopefully we can get all the scheduling figured out so I know when I'll be able to live stream as well. My initial plan of Thursdays at 6 o'clock is already out the window. I'm at work at that point now. So we will get it all figured out, and we will let you guys know, I promise. And otherwise, I hope you guys have found this interesting, enlightening, illuminating, or at least just plain fun. And we will catch you guys next time. Bye now.